it didn't cost me anything that was worth keeping around. Everything it cost me needed to go anyways. So the drinking, the bad time wasters, the bad relationships, you name it, anything that didn't fit what I was trying to get to with weightlifting and now with business ventures, relationships, everything I lost was completely worth it. Maybe not at the time. Oh, actually, that's not even true. At the time, it was fine with me too, because I was so singularly focused on changing who I was from a physical standpoint, because I knew it would change everything else in my life, because I was building my confidence, and I saw the changes. I saw how I was becoming more of the man I believed I was called to be. And so nothing was going to be in my way. Nothing was going to stand in my way. And, I probably left a bad taste in some people's mouths. And so, yeah, I lost a lot of friends, but I gained so many more.
Hey guys, if you're an aspiring bodybuilder, or maybe you're a veteran and you've plateaued and you're just looking for a breakthrough, you're going to gain a lot of value from this episode. So I titled it Bodybuilding and Bulking, What It Takes. So on today's episode, I have the distinct privilege of bringing you an interview between me and my close friend, Kolin Sanders. Listen, Kolin has dedicated himself to an aggressive lifting regimen ever since his early high school days, and this eventually led to the ongoing pursuit of mastering professional bodybuilding and clean bulking. So you can see he was a natural pick for this interview. Listen, Kolin is not only an engaging guest, but he's very articulate and he's a refined speaker. On top of that, he also has a rich sense of humor that I know you'll appreciate. So, without further ado, let's get to it. And so we're here today down in the recording studio, and the title, or the theme, if you will, of this episode today is going to be bulking. Yes? Bulking, what you don't know about bulking, or what you haven't heard about bulking. And joining us is my good friend Kolin Sanders. Kolin, thank you for joining us on the show.
Yeah, Adam, appreciate you having me, man.
So, why do you think I picked you?
I think you just looked around, you found the smallest guy you could find. No, honestly, kind of inflates my ego, because myself, I'm still very much on the journey of trying to get to where I want my physique. So, I greatly appreciate you think that I'm the subject matter expert, but I'm happy to share what I know, just kind of give my 2 cents on the matter.
So, Kolin, just a little background about our business and, our relationship, how we've gotten to know each other. I actually met Kolin in the gym. He bumped into me and I said, hey, watch where you're going, small fry, and the rest is history. But we bumped into each other at the water fountain, and more or less we just kind of had that little bromance going on, and hey man, it'd be very beneficial if we connected, and we ought to stay connected, and hey, do you want to grab coffee sometime and try to trade mindsets? And we absolutely agreed that we'd be better off and that as iron sharpens iron, so too does one man sharpen the other. And we found that to be true, and then that turned into a business relationship. But truly, he's someone that not only makes me better and sharper to be around, he's someone that has truly dedicated, his self to a lifestyle of bulking and clean bulking. Now, let me just ask you this. So that's just a little bit of his background. When did this start building momentum in your life, like really starting to inflate itself and become something more than just a small ambition, if you will, to something like maybe you wanted to try out? Like, how did this all come about? How did you get here? How did you get to the fountain, the water fountain in the gym, right?
Yeah, a lot of things, really. I mean, I grew up in a family that took exercise and fitness very seriously. There's a lot.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so my dad's an old school bodybuilder. My cousins are kind of genetic anomalies, and so being slightly younger than them, I was always trying to catch up. And even my sister, she more or less robbed the gene pool. And so just being the youngest, always trying to catch up, and honestly not really being, I guess, genetically or naturally inclined to be good at this thing.
that
You said you were
everyone else.
small? Is that what you're alluding to?
Yeah, I actually would run long distance on the weekends just for fun if I didn't have a sporting event in high school. And so,
Wow.
I mean, I wrestled 132 freshman year of high school, and I was very similar height as to what I am now. So I was
I
kind
would
of
have
a
never
beanpole.
believed that.
And and that's, I think, a testament to the last 12 years of very serious intentional work and lifestyle change, of course. But really,
What was the
I mean,
motive behind like getting started though?
I was kind of sick of myself, you know, and I wanted to do something about it and change. And I knew that I could attain this vision I had if I worked hard. I was never great at anything.
What made
but
you think that? Like why?
I was
Why
always
are
good
you?
at-
It seems a little audacious,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, probably too much confidence, but you know, I'm glad I had it looking back, because
The confidence
one-
of youth.
well, yeah, and no one could have told me otherwise. And actually, a lot of people did tell me otherwise. And looking back, thank God. You know, I used those negative emotions to build something that I'm now proud of. And you know, it transferred over to all aspects of my life, to my relationships, to career path, to my own self-confidence, my knowledge, my drive, work ethic, yada yada. I mean, you name it, it transferred. And I really think it benefited all areas of my life, just learning how to get really disciplined and really consistent at, you know, the gym, bulking, you know, sleeping, supplementation,
Follow through.
and doing it more intensely and longer than anyone I knew. Just because if I wasn't naturally good at it, I knew I had to work a little bit harder than most people.
Love that. I love that. I mean, that, and listen, you bring a lot of benefit to not only this arena, not only this a podcast and reviewing audience, but you also bring a lot of value to any environment that you choose to walk into.
Oh, that's really kind. I appreciate it.
True. So so now people know a little bit about you.
Yeah.
And that's good. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I mean, I was just saying it's because I've had so many positive influences. You know, I didn't, looking back when I was 17, you know, you never would have wanted me on your podcast. And thankfully I had a lot of great role models and a lot of people to pour into me and kind of keep me on the right path, or kind of get me off a bad path. And, you know, it's such a blessing looking back.
For sure.
Because it definitely helped shape me into who I am and who I'm continuing to grow into.
For sure. I love that. So, hey, that's a really great, summary of who Kolin is, the credibility that he actually brings to the table. I'm really excited about this conversation, Kolin. I'm really excited about, I think that it's really easy to romanticize bodybuilding. I think it's been romanticized since the days of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and unfortunately it doesn't seem like the money's there anymore to pursue that as a career. Maybe there is. I'm admittedly I'm a little ignorant when it comes to that subject. However, I think that if there's a lot of misnomers, I think we're going to clear up in this podcast. I'm really excited about that. So let's just start with a couple light things, because I think it has a tendency to get kind of deep really quick, because let's quit beating around the bush here. Like, it's not just hard work, it's sacrifice, right?
Big time. Yeah, it's trading the fun that you could have now for a reward you can earn later that you can't see yet. And yeah, it's
kind of like investing.
Yeah, it's a lot like investing. It's investing in yourself, and it's investing in a skill set,
right?
Mentality.
So, like, a couple of the light questions, I just have a couple of them written down. What do you think is the most common misconception about bulking? This is from Michael in Baltimore. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, Michael, great question. Really, and just personally speaking, I think the most common misconception is just eating, a seafood diet. You see it, you eat it. And that is okay if you are tracking it. I think the most common misconception is, well, as long as I'm eating until I'm full and I'm doing that, as often as my stomach feels like it can. Well, that's not going to get you where you're trying to go, because you're not tracking, you have no data, nothing to reference back to. So you need to track fats, carbs, proteins especially, and then the carbohydrates and fats if you are trying to bulk, but just proteins in general. Whether you're trying to maintain, cut, bulk, protein is very, very important. And I think, to answer your question, I think that is the most common misconception, is that you just should eat and eat and eat without tracking, because odds are, even if you're eating till you're full and you think, wow, I'm crushing, I could not eat more, I bet you're not eating enough.
Is that called like dirty bulking?
Yeah, that would be considered, yeah, like the McDonald's, every day, that's the dirty bulk for sure. But then even me, looking back early days in this, I felt like I was eating as much as I could, and I was eating a lot. And then I started tracking. I'm like, oh, holy cow, I'm only at like 180 grams of protein a day. Maybe my carbs were through the roof, but I still wasn't getting enough protein to actually recover.
How much protein is that?
You probably want about 1 gram per pound of body weight just to maintain. If you're trying to bulk,
wow.
It's like, let's say you weigh 200 pounds. If you're trying to bulk, I would say minimum 220. And then you can probably go up to 250. Past that, maybe a little excess, but if it works for you, then by all means, go for it.
See, I'm still an amateur. That's just unreal for me to think about taking over 200 grams of protein in a day.
Yeah, and when you see it in raw chicken breast, it totally kills your appetite. And
that's right.
So it's certainly a mind over matter thing.
Sure. So that was a good one. So why don't we just talk? No one submitted this. So what about dirty bulking, versus clean bulking? What does that even mean? What are the parameters on that?
Yeah, clean bulking is basically if you make it at home, I would say. And you try to make it as healthy as possible. That would be more or less the realm. Now you could probably get more specific, more technical. No processed foods. Just all. It doesn't have to be organic. Obviously, probably better, but real food. And the dirty bulk is, like I was talking about earlier, the seafood diet. It's Wendy's, McDonald's, KFC, and you can probably put weight on quickly that way, but it's not good. And it's not good weight you'll put on, but it's also very unhealthy for you. So you're probably damaging your arteries, you're probably hurting your heart, and really you're probably trading size for lifespan, or vice versa, rather, trading lifespan for size. Because if you're just eating junk, well, your body's going to be junk.
Right, it's junk fuel, right?
So it's easier, so you can get there faster. It's like, well, if my goal is I'm 150 right now and I want to be 200, well, I'd agree, you can probably get there faster, the dirty bulk. However, easy come, easy go, not healthy. But if you do the slow, healthy, clean bulk, odds are you're going to retain it better. And when you hit that 200 from 150, you'll probably have a lot more muscle than if you get there really fast.
Wow.
Because even if you're bulking well, a pound or 2 a month is crazy of muscle. That's phenomenal. So if you're putting on like 10 pounds a month, I've got some bad news for you. It's
kind of like compounding, right?
Yeah,
the results compound.
You're gonna have swelling. You're gonna have probably joint pain. You're gonna have bloating, probably stomach issues. I ate so much my sophomore year of college. I went from 200 to 240 in a semester.
Oh, geez.
And I developed acid reflux because I was on the seafood diet.
Right.
I was eating everything constantly. I would eat, fall asleep, wake up. It's disgusting. It's like that's not someone that anyone wants to be around.
It's not sustainable either,
it's not
right?
sustainable. Yeah. Your choking risk is through the roof.
Right, and you want to like have wife and have a child, unless maybe you just want to bulk.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And obviously, if that's what you want to do, then by all means go for it. But there are going to be major sacrifices and probably some health concerns, and it's a kind of isolated life.
3. If you guys actually haven't checked out episode 1, go back and check out episode 1. I talk about how I actually lost weight in my own weight loss journey, so I have a little bit of credibility. I'm a novice in terms of weight building. You've helped me a lot. I feel like I've actually put on quite a bit of mass here in the last few years, but just know that back in 2013 I actually weighed 265, kind of sometimes as 270 on the heavier side. And over the course of a year, through a dedicated walking routine, a good diet, obviously you can't do it without a good diet, you can't just eat garbage, right? And then sleep. And so would you believe me if I told you that there's a direct correlation between the amount of sleep you get and maintaining lean muscle tissue?
there's a positive correlation to more sleep and more and better everything. I think that's probably the biggest misnomer in the whole fitness industry, is they think more is more.
Which is exactly why in episode 2, you're going to need to go back and watch it, and so that way you can get all the information that's pertinent to this, and maybe even I'll have a quote in there from Kolin, because obviously he has some knowledge about this. But this is set to release next week. Make sure you don't miss it. It's a little shameless plug there for episode 2 of the CM Nutrition podcast. So back to Kolin, and it's almost like I didn't really go away from you. You're very vital to my plans, sir. So let's just deviate from the topic matter just a little bit before we take a deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just thought-provoking. I've heard by a really wise man say that your thoughts lead to your actions lead to your habits, and your habits define the life that you're going to live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could not agree more, because I do think, obviously there are certain situations you're born into, but I do think more or less you are where you are in life because of the way you think, and then because of the way you think, that directly affects how you act and how you perceive the world. And so, you know, every cliche, every proverb, you could listen, it would apply here in the fact that it is what you make it. And so if something happens to you on the way to work and you are not able to deal with that in a healthy way, you know, you're probably going to be upset about that all day, and it's going to negatively affect everything else in your life. Whereas if you're able to process that in a healthy way, well, okay, they're probably in their own world. They weren't thinking about me. Now I can be done with that, and I can actually put my mental energy into the things that I want, like my long-term goals or the tasks that I have to do today on my short-term goals.
As opposed to just wearing
Mm-hmm.
the weight of that and then what people think, like proverbially, just wearing that around like a backpack all day.
Yeah, but that takes controlling your thoughts.
Yeah.
Because if you have no control of your thoughts, then okay, my anger is going to kick in, and that's going to be the driving force behind how I'm operating, and that's how I perceive everything. And gosh, I can tell you firsthand, the gym has actually really helped me control that, because no one wants to be around the unstable guy, and I didn't want to be around him. He was in my head for a while, you know. And learning how to control my diet, learning how to control my time, and learning where to put that angst or that anger or energy into, like, the weightlifting, it avoided me putting it into senseless things. If that makes sense.
Right. So that more meaning into the time that you were that you were living your life. That's really,
I think what you said is just so true. I think that.
So hey, let's dive into a more serious question, if you don't mind taking that pivot.
Yeah.
If you guys are ready, we'll stay there for like maybe 10 minutes, then we'll come up for air. How about that? Okay. So any great endeavor, there is no greatness without sacrifice. Doesn't exist. What sacrifices, let's just talk about your journey. What sacrifices have there been of note? Ones that I'm talking like it cost you your character, it cost you your lifestyle, it cost you maybe some relationships. What were some of these factors that other people would gain a lot of value from hearing some of these struggles? I want you, listen, my friend, I want you to just be curt, and I just want you to shoot these people straight, because I think that there's too much stuff it's too much fluff. I don't want fluff. I just want you to shoot them straight.
Here it is. It didn't cost me anything that was worth keeping around. Everything it cost me needed to go anyways. So the drinking, the bad time wasters, the bad relationships, the you name it, anything that didn't fit what I was trying to get to with weightlifting, and now with business ventures, relationships, you know, everything I lost was completely worth it. Maybe not at the time. Well, actually, that's not even true. At the time, it was fine with me too, because I was so singularly focused on changing who I was from a physical standpoint, because I knew it would change everything else in my life, because I was building my confidence, and I saw the changes. I saw how I was becoming more of the man I believed I was called to be. And so nothing was going to be in my way. Nothing was going to stand in my way. And, you know, I probably left a bad taste in some people's mouths, you know, and I was called any name you can think of, from, you know, selfish to,
Isn't that just part of any great endeavor when you get focused on an objective, though?
yeah. And
You
then,
alienate people, right?
Yeah.
Greatness alienates people.
yeah, but then the people who are doing the same thing, they will encourage you, and they will give you the space and the grace that you need to do what you need to do, and they will be your cheerleader. And so, yeah, I lost a lot of friends, but I gained so many more.
I
Like,
think
you
the
wouldn't
most
believe it.
important part of what you're saying, like, you also gained a lot of people. They're really scared just to be in the quiet of their own head.
Mhm.
It's because they're not really friends with themselves, and then quite frankly, they don't like who they are,
Mhm.
because they're not confident. They don't have quote unquote self-confidence. My definition of self-confidence is keeping your word to yourself on a daily basis. It's keeping your word to yourself repeatedly.
Well, because if you lie to yourself, you know, why would you not lie to anyone else?
Right.
Yeah, it's just
Ultimately, you have to be accountable to you.
you don't
to
even know
begin
who
with.
you are. Yeah, you're lying to
Exactly.
yourself, and it's like, well, I'm going to do this tomorrow, and tomorrow happens. Well, next week, and before you know it, 50 years pass. You know, and just you know, time goes by faster than you think, and dreams do expire. And if you do not, if you really want to do it, you will cut out the fluff. You know, and you will eat the 8 meals a day. You will track every single, to the point where you don't know any better. You know, like, I don't know how to eat a meal and not weigh out everything that I eat, just because I've been doing it for 10 years. Now it's natural. The first year or two, it was not natural. I didn't like it. I didn't like a lot of the stuff I was doing.
Let's talk about that.
But I didn't like where I was
after
at
this
so much
segment
more.
too.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure. This is, I hope you guys are appreciating this content. It's absolutely riveting. I wish we could stay here. And we're going to come back to it.
Hey guys, joint health and routine maintenance is an ever-present factor in our daily grind. Whether it's arthritis, an old injury, or maybe you're recovering from a recent injury, your quality of life matters. I actually found myself in the same situation from years of playing football and the miles that I run daily. So I feel it in my shoulders, I feel it in my ankles, I feel it in my knees. I'm really glad that a friend referred me to a joint health supplement by Nutrilite, a trusted brand. And it contains 150 milligrams of glucosamine hydroitin, and it's raspberry flavored. It comes in a convenient twist tube form for an active lifestyle, which I really appreciate. I always add it to just a bottle of water, or I put it in my shaker cup, and it takes effect immediately. So because it's an isolate form, all that means is you're going to get faster absorption. So it's next level technology. It's made such a significant impact on our lives personally that we're the biggest advocates of not only these twist tubes, but all the other Nutrilite products. So these twist tubes, they're not only delicious, but they're cost effective too. We have personally witnessed this supplement deliver significant results in the lives of dozens of people within our personal circle. So if you're dealing with debilitating joint pain, I would highly recommend you give this supplement a shot. Your quality of life matters. I know what you'll find. I'll provide the link to this product through our virtual store in the video description below. And now, back to the interview.
Yeah, fantastic plug. And whether it's a joint twist tube or a multivitamin, or even just the reason you take that, typically when you're exercising, maybe some people think it's vain to be in the gym all the time, or, you know, but if it improves the quality of life, my goodness, it is worth at least trying, or postponing a surgery, or even negating a surgery. You know, just allowing people to, you don't realize how much your life is better when you're not in pain, because you just get used to it. Like, oh, my knees always hurt, my back always hurts. But can you imagine just not having that pain?
It changes your brain chemistry, right?
Yeah, I imagine it'd be like if you woke up one day, someone who wears glasses and they can see. It's like, whoa, I don't have to worry about my vision.
Such a good analogy.
You know, it's like you don't know how good it is until you have it, you know?
So we're going to go back, coming back, before we dive back into the deep stuff, we're going to go back to a thought-provoking question here. Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
I heard this quote one time. I think it was from Albert Einstein, and I'm not trying to sound well read, but Albert Einstein, he was probably a person of an age, right? And he said that everyone acts in a way that makes sense to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that it seems like it's not profound at all, but it is so profound.
Yeah, because no one thinks they're wrong and no one thinks they're doing bad. Well, maybe there's some exceptions, I'm sure. You know, you go to ends of the spectrum, but for the most part, I think people are operating good. You know, and if it's a political thing or a whatever kind of thing, you know, they are all right in their world, and it makes sense for them, and they think that what they're doing is the best. And then, you know, right now things are very divided, but that's, you know, you're talking about global wars. That's very, very macro. But let's even take it to a very personal level. Like, let's say with you and your wife. Well, that same philosophy applies. So if you're trying to create peace through war or, you know, conflict, argument, I will argue her into, you know, submission or me being correct. Well, gosh, that stinks for her and you, because then you're not really solving any issues. But if you come at it from, you know, a place of understanding, well, that's where the growth can happen. So, you know, macro level, sure, definitely, you know, but more micro, interpersonal, day-to-day stuff, without a doubt.
Here's the thing. To answer your question, I think that it's such a paradox. We live in this age where we've never been more connected, yet at the same time, we've never been so relationally distant. We've never been so devoid of meaning and what's actually truly meaningful and really giving a crap about your neighbor. And the reason that I think it's very true, and it is through understanding, is that, and that here's another thing, the little quick side note, because I don't want to get too off track, but the golden rule really does solve everything.
It's a great rule.
It really does solve everything. And if you believe and say like you're not a Christian, but you do inherently believe that there's a lot of value to living your life through the scope of the golden rule, then you'd understand that that applies to this question.
Well, I believe all religions abide by that. If you had to boil down all religion, that would be it. You know, all moral philosophy, all, you know, how to live is the golden rule.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I appreciate. I think we answered that question.
Yeah.
We're supposed to keep it light.
Yeah.
That wasn't all that light, but it's
fun.
okay.
Yeah, I like going down that road.
So let's talk about sacrifice, but let's go a different direction with it. If there's a new person and he's wanting to get into bodybuilding, maybe me. Let's just say me. Let's not go down that road yet. I'm just setting that up. I'm an amateur, and I am, and so I can ask you this. So what's the difference between powerlifting and bodybuilding?
Oh,
right, because they both look the same in the gym. I've been around you and your friends. It's like, but they're inherently different. Some of them are different than you are.
They
seem more angry, right?
Not to disagree with you, but you know, I think they look very different. If you really take a step back and analyze and review a number of sets, time between sets, rep scheme, and even the movements they're doing. So the goal of bodybuilding is to look like you move 400 pounds. And if you happen to do it, cool. But that's not the goal. Whereas with powerlifting, the goal is to move 400 pounds regardless of how you look. So if you see a lot of body compositions of powerlifters, you wouldn't necessarily, like when you see someone who's at 5 to 6% body fat, you would innately think, wow, that person must be strong. That person's, you know, and then you see someone who maybe is at 30% body fat, and you're like, you know, he's clearly not in the gym as much as that guy who's 5% body fat. Well, little do you know, power lifter here who's 20 to 30% body fat, he's throwing up 4 times the amount of weight per pound than that 5%, you know. So bodybuilding is all about how can I pump as much blood into the muscle as possible, master the time under tension, master the movement of the rep. So for bench press, for example, the way a power lifter approaches the bench press is, how can I move this at the heaviest of weight as possible? Okay, cool. That's awesome. Bodybuilder approaches it saying, how can I make this bench press movement affect my chest the most? So power lifter says, hey, if my traps, shoulders,
targeting. If
whatever it takes from my body to move this weight, awesome. a bodybuilder says, I only want my chest, or whatever the movement is. It's specifically for this body part or this body, you know, and weight should be irrelevant. And the leaner you get, the harder it is to move the weight, you know. So as you're cutting as a bodybuilder, you should expect your weights to go down, which can be frustrating, especially when, you know, if you want to get into the whole body dysmorphia thing, you probably feel worse about yourself and you look smaller in the mirror to yourself as you go down in body fat percentage. However, to everyone else, you are looking more jacked, which means bigger. So you're probably getting more, oh, bro, you're looking great, you're looking really jacked. And it's messing with you because you're like, oh, I'm actually really not doing
You're like,
the
thanks
way
for
I'm
bringing that up, Jerry.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like you're kind of messing with me. And then you go to the weight room and you see the power lifters like, oh, I just hit a new PR. And you're like, I'm not even doing what I was doing 5 years ago.
Right, like
And
quit
it's-
patronizing me.
Yeah, and so that's a hurdle to get over because
Let's talk
that
about that.
checks the ego.
That's
Yeah.
like, and thank you, by the way. You actually answered that question beautifully as a novice, because I am, by the way, in weightlifting.
Well,
I've been
I-
doing it consistently, but I am a novice.
I'm technically an amateur too because I don't have my pro card, you know. And on the topic of bodybuilding, I don't think you are a bodybuilder unless you are prepping for a show or you have done a show. Otherwise, it is just weightlifting with the intention of bodybuilding. But bodybuilding is a sport, and in order to play a sport, you have to compete in the sport. You know, so if you just practice soccer, practice, and you never play a game, I would argue that you're not really a soccer player, you know. And same with powerlifting. You can train to be a powerlifter, but you're not a powerlifter until you go to a meet, you know. And so I have done one
You
show.
have to have something on the line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, you have to have done the thing. It's kind of like a rite of passage. I did an NPC show in 2020, and I learned a lot from that, mostly areas for improvement, but that separated me from a lot of my other friends who I'd been training partners with throughout the years because I was the first one to get on stage. And so now I'm actually a bodybuilder. Now I'm a amateur bodybuilder. I would have to win a pro qualifier show and then place top 3 in a pro show.
That's good for me
And
to
then
understand, because I have
that's
no
how I
idea.
get my pro card. And I may be wrong. You may have to get first place at the other one, but I do believe for the pro card, if you compete in a pro show, which you have to qualify for, I believe if you just place top 3, you get that pro card. I believe that's correct.
Don't
But-
quote him.
Yeah, it could be fake news. We'll see.
But hey, let's talk about the sacrifices, because
Yeah.
I stopped you. You were getting ready to you were rolling there. If you say are an aspiring bodybuilder
Mhm.
who's on this podcast right here, and you have, let's cater to the individual who's maybe they've been in it for a couple years and they got to the point like they are jacked just by sheer consistency, not really knowing what they're doing. There's like by osmosis, I'm here, I'm lifting heavy things, I get jacked, right? And they're encouraged because they have the natural body composition for it, which that's a thing too, right? And we
yeah, it
could
makes
talk
a big
about that,
difference.
right? Like I don't have the natural body composition to be a runner, a distance runner. However, because I won't quit, I'm like a dripping faucet. Over the years, I can run 5. There's been years, literally years at a time, where I've ran 5 to 6 miles a day. And someone say like, you don't really look like a runner. I don't know how to take that. I turned into where like now it's a compliment, but I'm getting a little off track. If you're a person in that position and say you have hit a plateau,
Yeah.
what sacrifices do you anticipate that person is going to have to make to overcome that plateau and move to the next level in their journey? Because you've obviously been here. You're talking from experience. It's obvious.
Yeah, any sacrifice. I mean, whatever it takes. You know, if you watch Pumping Iron, Arnold missed his dad's funeral. And obviously I'm not condoning that, and I would never do that myself, but
Right.
that's why he was Mr. Olympia 8 times, and that's why one of the reasons. But it's that mindset of, and you know, there were years there where I would have cut out just about anything. It was I woke up thinking about it, I fell asleep thinking about it, I thought about it in class. It was everything I did was to make progress there.
Couldn't you easily fall into narcissism?
Yeah, until at least
Especially
for me,
today with social
Yeah.
media and Snapchat.
I'm sure you could, and I think people do, but I just don't like to see it in others, and so when I do, it's a very nice reminder to, and also, just there's always a bigger fish, and I think as soon as you think you're all that, you'll get humbled, and that hurts. So it's probably just better to try to stay humble from the get-go.
Sure.
Yeah, but I mean, if you are serious about it and you want to grow, you should be prepared to cut out whatever it takes. And that could be a bad relationship, that could be bad friends, it could be people who do not support what you're trying to do, people who are trying to hold you back, food.
Maybe good people that are actually good intentioned.
Oh, and I think all people are. I really
It's like
do.
your mom doesn't
Yeah.
want you to go through some of the shifts that you may have to go through, and she sees the struggle, and like your mom in a nurturing way is not going to want you to go through that.
Yeah.
And so, but you may need to cut some time out and away from her because it may not in that season be advantageous to your path.
Or just put a filter on. Get really good at just letting stuff roll off. And so sometimes those who you seek guidance from, you can still keep them in your life by all means, but maybe just with a grain of salt. Or they start to speak pessimistically about what you're doing or whatever.
A large Himalayan size piece of
salt.
salt.
Just be like, hey, that's a great opinion, that's fantastic, but it's not going to phase me. And that kind of goes into a little bit of the emotional maturity aspect of things that I made improvements through the gym. The gym helped me first physically, but now more so than ever mentally.
That's great. So like if that person is at that point where they have plateaued, sum it up in a nutshell, in a paragraph, if you will.
Yeah.
What's it going to take?
For bulking specifically?
Yeah, so that way that the people know, like, are they willing?
More food, more sleep, better supplementation. And if you think you're stuffed, find ways to get more in. I think smoothies are a great way, because even if you're really full, like, oh, I can't take another bite, odds are you can drink a smoothie, and you can get really creative and clever in how you make smoothies that are very nutrient dense, and maybe even takes you an hour to get it down, but at least you're getting, I got an extra 50 grams of protein, I got an extra 30 grams of carb, or I got, if you do the calorie things, like, oh, I got an extra 600 calories, whatever it is. You can do oats, blueberries, peanut butter, protein, but you name it, Greek yogurt. Put whatever you like in there, whatever fits your diet.
So you're saying you can actually like your diet?
Yeah, I love my diet.
Let's talk about that. For a person like that, say that they're just starting their weight, they're like, okay, I have the work ethic, I used to play football in high school, and this is going to be my new sport. But is it possible for this new individual who's like, okay, I'm going to accept this, it's going to be a lifestyle, to overtrain?
Yeah, certainly. My opinion on the matter has changed drastically the more I lift. And you talk to bodybuilder A and bodybuilder B, and they'll have completely different opinions. So this is not necessarily a fact, but this is just my own subjective opinion. I used to preach there is no such thing as overtraining. There's only under eating and under sleeping. That was my philosophy. So I was in the gym, like in college, I would wake up, have 5 a.m. lifts for sport, and then I would go to the gym on my own.
University of Kansas, right?
Yes, sir.
Rock Chalk?
Rock Chalk. And then I'd have practice in the evening, and I would repeat. So I was either practicing or in the gym for, 6 hours minimum a day. And that's 5 days a week.
Seems a little out of balance.
It was extreme, and I would go on Saturday and Sunday. And looking back in hindsight, I probably left a lot of gains on the table. And if you're serious about the bulk, why would you do that? And it was because I was so obsessed with outworking everyone that even included, well, I'm going to spend the most time there. Well, Mike Menser, who was a very accomplished bodybuilder, and he has some controversial opinions, and maybe some of the bodybuilding and powerlifting community is pulling their hair out right now, but I do like his philosophy as far as, it's like, well, if the name of the game is more, then why would you ever leave the gym? Why wouldn't you just train 10 hours a day? Well, the goal is less is more. So the more I've trained and progressed in mastering the mind-muscle connection, understanding how to do the movements correctly and slow down the tempo, the less often I'm in the gym. I mean, ideally, I would like to be in the gym 3 or 4 times a week, and I guarantee you I'll make more
How
results.
long? Like, what's your...
I mean, it depends. Depends on the day. Depends on who I'm lifting with.
I consider you to be pretty serious.
I mean, yeah, but it kind of between 45 minutes and at most an hour 45. Past that, you're probably wasting a lot of time. But no, I definitely think the more I rest, especially as I get older, the better.
How old are you now?
I'm 28 now, so as I'm approaching 30,
28 years young.
I still feel 18. But I am realizing that I don't have the time that I did when I was 18, and so I need to get the most out of what I'm trying to do, and it actually works out well to where I can grow better, I can recover better if I'm training less.
So tell me, let's just put it in a nutshell. Let's like summarize. What's your philosophy on overtraining now?
Now, try to avoid it, and sometimes you hear guys in the gym saying, oh, well, it's not just for the physical, it's it's like therapy for me. Well, my friend Luke, who's a therapist, he loves when people ask that because he has a perfect response. And he's like, well, do you think it's healthy to be addicted to therapy? I'm like, oh, well, no. And so find other things that you're passionate about, or go start a business, or go find ways to add value, go serve people. If you're in the gym 7 days a week for 2 hours a day, okay, that might be a little selfish. You could probably use your time a little better and actually really progress your life forward. So my advice would be, if you can, do 5 days a week or 4. Really, I think you'll recover a lot better, and I think you'll feel better, and you'll probably actually start to see more progress.
You guys getting some value out of this? I know I am. I mean, this wasn't easy to put together, but I'm just going to stop for a minute and say we're starting to wrap things up here. But if you've really appreciated this as much as I have, take a minute, put your feedback in the comment section below. Say, hey, we want Kolin back. We want Kolin to come back on our show, and I want you to put your questions actually in the comment section below, because this is a lifestyle. To be accomplished in anything, it has to become a lifestyle. What Conor McGregor said, he says, you have to be obsessed with your craft.
Certainly.
I think that's very true. And so if you want more of Kolin, man, we'll have him back on. So leave your comments in the section below. So let's get back. We just got a couple minutes here before we wrap up. Let's go back to one more quote here. So Tony Robbins said this, and this is something that has been transformative for me personally. He says, if you want a different result in your life, it starts with your standards.
Yeah, big time. The standards for yourself, those around you, what you accept. There are times where having those high standards is lonely, because you don't find a lot of people who match that. But when you do, my goodness, you can get a lot done. It's like, and you really feel like, oh my goodness, I'm not crazy. There are other people out there who have these high standards. And honestly, the lower everyone else's standards get, it's kind of easier to stand out.
Sure.
You can stand out from the masses by just doing what your grandfather's probably doing. Like I know for myself, I try to run filter through everything, because he was a man of such high character, high morals, very high character. He expected a lot.
Let me guess, he's a bodybuilder too?
No, but when he was 75, he could bench press his body weight for 10. And he was a Marine. He,
wow.
He taught me mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter.
Do you think people's standards are, you could just boil everything down to your standards, but that's a separator between people who get ahead in life and succeed at life and anything, and the people who maybe they get a little complacent, maybe they have
to their circumstances, I would say.
Yeah.
Whereas it goes back to the perspective thing. If you have standards of, I will not be talked to like that, well, then you leave the toxic work environment. Whereas if you don't have those standards, well, you stay and you
punch him in the face.
You suck it up every day and you hate your job. Having the high standards, I completely think that will set you apart from allowing life to dictate what happens to you versus you kind of taking the reins. So yeah, increase your standards for everything across the board, for yourself first. Because if you don't have high standards for yourself, hypocritically, you might have for other people. And you can't expect others to do what you're not going to do yourself. And so first, raise it for yourself, I would say. And then, have high standards for those in your life. And if they're not meeting your standards, good luck changing them. I would just say, find the people that have the high standards. Those people who are already running at the pace you are.
So this has been really great. I've really enjoyed this.
Me too.
There's been a lot of value, I feel, that people can take just from this. I don't know how long it's been, maybe over an hour or so. But I want you guys to put your feedback in the comment section below. I want to know what questions specifically can Kolin answer, because quite honestly, I don't know that many. because I am an amateur. He's taught me some things. I've been very consistent, and it's going to demand consistency, right?
Without a doubt, and it's going to require trial and error, because what works for me may not work for you. It may not work for the other guy. So try the things, and seek people who are further along the road than you are. And so I was always trying to find the biggest guy in the gym, and become buddy with him. Just say, dude, how do you go from here to here? Like, hey, I have a weak point here. What do you recommend? And I was always just trying to take note. And then I would try something. It's like, ooh, okay, deadlifts, because of my just the way that I'm built. I could only do it up until about the age of 19, and it really started affecting my back. So it's like, well, I just had to find other ways to train hamstrings, glutes, lower back without doing the standard deadlift. So figure out what works for you. Try it. If you feel like it's working, you feel good doing it, then implement that. But also understand you can't just do that. You have to change that, add to it, make it better, refine it over time to where it's exactly what you need to make the progress you're looking for.
Okay. So final question. This comes from Dwight in Irving. So Dwight asks if he's having issues with animal proteins, and obviously he's trying to get in how much protein?
At least 1 gram per pound body weight.
1 gram per pound of body weight. And so he's having a lot of digestive tract issues with that. What other alternatives are there? They're going to be. I'm sure you also have to go this route as well. Like, what are some of the go-tos that he should be seeking?
Yeah, my recommendation, and this is for powders, correct? Because I would say if you can get everything you can from real food, from whole food, nothing is better than that. No supplement, no.
Yeah, you told me something about sweet potatoes one time.
Yeah.
It was remarkable. I didn't know there's any protein in sweet potatoes.
Well, there's I think just the most minute amount of protein, if any. I don't even consider if there is any in there. I don't really necessarily track that. But just for me, I understood that rice was really bloating and causing, issues with my gut, and
I feel like crap.
Yeah, just kind of felt lethargic and blah. And sweet potatoes, I jive very well with them. Whereas other people do very, very well with rice. So for them, that's great. If that works for you, fantastic. I love rice. I love eating it. I just hate how it makes me feel. And same with whey proteins. I've tried every protein under the sun. And the only ones that for me don't make me feel like I need to go use the restroom right away are the vegan plant-based. And honestly, those have progressed a lot in the last 10 years. They used to taste real bad.
Like chalk.
Booty, just trash. You don't want it. You don't want those. But now, honestly, I think they taste better than a lot of the whey proteins. And, figure out what works for you. If you are having issues with digestion, bowel movements, change your diet. It's not worth feeling like you can't go away from a toilet just to get the results.
To get the gains?
Yeah. I mean, maybe for you they are, and for me they were for a point in time, but...
Think about your girlfriend. Think about...
Well, it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
I mean, if time is precious, why are you, wasting it away on the toilet? Plus, just you want to feel good. The whole point of the gym and the exercise is so, okay, I feel better and I progress mentally and physically. So if you're doing it and then you just feel like absolute crap all the time because you're putting the wrong stuff for your gut into your body, you should probably reevaluate. Yeah, figure out what makes you feel good and you're still getting results with. But nothing against whey protein. Just for me and my gut, I can't do it. So I really like the plant-based vegan protein. And then I've found that when I'm not trying to bulk, it's much better that I do white potatoes with a majority of sweet potatoes. It's like, just for me, whatever, maybe it's because I'm part Irish, my body does well with that.
Never would have guessed.
Oh yeah, no idea. I didn't know either.
Well, Kolin, this has been great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you a great deal. I think everybody, this is a defining moment, for the CM Nutrition podcast, and I'm glad that you were available and you made yourself available. Everyone's busy, especially in the world that we live in. How many people are actually productive, though? Kolin is an individual that the more time I spend with him, the more ways I find that I can be productive. And quite simply, I'm leaving productivity on the table. Thank you for joining us here today. And thank you for being accountable to me to the future viewers of this show, and let's do this again.
Yeah,
I
it was
really
my pleasure.
appreciate it. This
really
was
good
a lot
time.
of fun, man.
Yeah,
Dude,
thank you.
It's freaking great.
Yeah. Thank you, Alan, for the space.
For sure. Hey, if you guys love this, and I know that you did, definitely as much as I did, make sure that you leave your feedback in the comments section below and say, hey, we want Kolin. I want you to make sure that we want Kolin, more of Kolin. And you put your feedback in there, maybe specific questions that you have, because he does have a lot of credibility in this field, and we'll come back. And, if he's generous enough with this time, we'll get him back on here again. And again, with any of the products that I mentioned here, little plugs there, you'll find my the link to my virtual office there, my virtual website. You can go on there, and again, type in the search bar, type in joint health for the joint twist tubes, or type in muscle, and muscle multiplier will pop up there, the amino acid supplements. Or if you simply want to reach out to me and put in the comment section you want a consultation to see what supplement could be right for you, and you want to have maybe some of this conversation with Kolin actually sparked some interest, and it brought up a couple things that stimulated a lot of thought, I'd love to have a conversation with you personally. So that's all the time that we have for today. Kolin's been so generous with our time, and we hope that you'll join us again for the Seam Nutrition Podcast. We're signing out.